Due to the legislature's observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the House began its work week on Tuesday. While it may have been a quiet week on the House floor, House committees and divisions were active, receiving overviews of topics in their jurisdiction, and a few even took action on some of the first bills of the session. For example, on Wednesday, the House Education Policy Committee approved a proposal that aims to help students and schools negatively affected by the pandemic. Representative Hodan Hassan sponsors House File 4, which would, in part, provide funding for a variety of programs, including extended time and summer school, and funding for math and reading activities for students that have fallen behind in these areas due to the pandemic.
We know and understand how critical education is to the future of our state and our economy. So investing in education better and figuring out a way to minimize the opportunity gap widened by this pandemic is an economic strategy for all of us. This bill includes a wide range of provisions that represent our approach to address the impact of COVID-19 on students as well as the broader education system.
House File 4 was approved 17-1 and moved to the House Education Finance Committee. Health Commissioner Jan Malcolm told the House Health, Finance, and Policy Committee Wednesday that the state's COVID-19 vaccination plans are on track. She also provided an update on the rollout of the vaccine.
So we've got these 2 vaccines. There are a couple more in the pipeline. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for now, we have Pfizer and Moderna. And they were both just approved a little over a month ago, remarkably. And here we are delivering them and vaccinating healthcare workers, people in long-term care settings, and now moving on to folks 65. With some special focus also on how to begin to get vaccination to childcare workers and educators in K-12 and staff as part of helping to support the ability of schools to get back to in-person learning for younger learners in particular.
Also on Wednesday, the House Industrial Education and Economic Development Finance and Policy Committee heard a proposal to provide broadband funding for people who in some instances are struggling to get a reliable internet connection, which can be problematic for things like distance learning or talking to a doctor. Representative Rob Eklund sponsors House File 14.
House File 14 would fund the border-to-border broadband grant program with $120 million for the 2 years of the biennium. This amount is what it would take to bring service to the 157,000 Minnesota households that currently do not have access to broadband internet. Ironically, Mr. Chair, members, I am sitting in a rented office because the broadband in my house is so lousy, I don't know that I would be able to present this bill or chair my committee this afternoon. So that's why it's a passion of mine.
Representative Joe McDonald, a Republican from Delano, agreed that broadband access is a problem, but said the best thing for students is to get them back in the classroom.
We know that it is best for our students to be in school. Broadband in rural Minnesota is very weak, and it's affecting our students. They need to be in school, and the CDC knows it. Our school kids know it. Our parents know it. We know it. Again, Mr. Chair, I know it's, of course, not the crust of our discussion, but the best thing that we can do in our committee, since we're talking broadband, is to encourage our governor to get our kids back in school.
On Thursday, the House Climate and Energy Finance and Policy Committee discussed a proposal that would require that all of a utility's electric power come from carbon-free resources by 2040. The proposal has yet to be introduced as a bill, but Representative Jamie Long says he will sponsor the so-called 100% clean energy standard. Typically, a hearing like this would pack a committee room. Instead, over 30 testifiers virtually lined up to both support and object to the proposal.
I ask that you consider this bill and support the provisions that promote a fossil fuel-free, pollution-free, and renewable energy-driven future for generations of Minnesotans to come.
Preventing utilities from making decisions based on the best and most cost-effective choices for their customer base will further harm reliability, affordability, and the competitive pricing that is guaranteed in state statute.
The discussion was for informational purposes, and Representative Long's proposal could be officially presented sometime in the near future. For more nonpartisan coverage of the Minnesota House of Representatives, check out our Session Daily work on the House website at house.mn/sessiondaily.